guys, this is Jess from Lustrous Plans. I'm back with another plan with me. Um, if you watched my first one, thank you. I hope this one's a little smoother. We'll see. So this week's plan with me, I'm doing a kit by Saucy Stickers Co. She's one of my favorite formats in the whole community. There's just so much to work with, as you can see here. The kit is called Gentleness, and I believe it's still available in her shop. So if you're interested, go check it out. So this time I did not lose any footage, which is really exciting for me. So you can see the whole process instead of just kind of pieced together like I did for my first plan with me. So now I'm quickly laying down the bottom washi. And I think for this week, since I don't have questions to answer, I'm just gonna kind of talk through my process more. I talked about it a little bit last time, but I think I'll be able to go into more detail now. So here you see me trying to decide what foiled washi I'm gonna put at the bottom. I always like to ideally put some sort of foiled washi strip between the two bottom washi strips. Um, just for balance sake. I don't know. But I ended up with that vintage handwriting washi from Sadie Stickers. Um, and now you see me attempting to tear like a color wash on washi paper from my shop, Paper Trail Plans. It was a bit of a labor of love, as you can see. I wanted to just tear it in half completely so I can use both sides for the base of my horizontal sidebar. But when I tore it, it looked very confident the way I tore it, maybe too confident. So I'm measuring now to see how much I need to trim off so that they're kind of more even, because one side ended up definitely being thicker than the other side. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm trying to get myself out of my comfort zone with washi paper because it is a little intimidating. It's pretty new to the community and it's a little scary to just tear into a sticker and then once you've done it, you can't undo it. I think it does help that it's from my own shop, so if I mess up, I have a backup. That helps me feel a little more confident about it, but it is like a little tricky to decide how to use washi paper, I feel like. So I'm just trying to incorporate it into more of my spreads, and I'm really enjoying this pattern specifically. It's from our academia collection, which is the first time we added like a washi color wash to a kit collection, but it's pretty fun because it's meant to go with the academia kit, which has that pattern in the full boxes. So it's nice to have some cohesion there. But I've been finding actually that this pattern is really versatile. Like, this is the second time I've used it. The first time was in my Valentine's spread, I believe, which was using another kit from our shop, Romanticize. So I believe I've posted pictures on Instagram if you want to go check that out. But anyway, long story short, I'm really enjoying this pattern, especially for more vintage feeling kits because it just kind of coordinates with a lot. Like you can tell the colors in the bottom washi and this washi paper are pretty similar, so that was pretty cool. So now I'm moving on to the actual horizontal sidebar. I've just kind of been vibing with horizontal sidebars lately instead of just putting full boxes down straight and, like standard layouts, I guess you could call it. It's been really fun to play with journaling elements and like larger clip art, like in these journaling sheets from Saucy Sticker Co. Um, so here you see, I zoomed in. I remember to do that this time. Uh, I'm using the backing paper from the washi color wash, which is clear because it's our newest washi paper. And it's really handy actually because if you use like regular premium matte sticker backing as like a testing ground for your sticker layering, you can't fully see behind it because it's kind of translucent. It's not fully transparent. I hope that makes sense. So since this is a fully transparent sheet, it's just really nice to put it on top of the washi paper backdrop, but not have to worry about, like laying down stickers without being able to move them. Because the one drawback of washi paper is once you put a sticker on top of it, you're pretty much, that's where it's going to stay. Because if you've ever tried to pull up a sticker from washi paper, it just tears immediately, and then you lose all the pretty pattern. So, not really an option. But this clear paper or clear plastic, whatever, is really nice to just overlay on top of that and then move around your layout as I'm doing with this tree. um, and figure it out and like have a full design that's kind of interlocked, if that makes sense, because the stickers are all sticking to each other. It's a lot easier to pull that up from the clear sheet and then put it all down at once, which you'll see me do in a second. But right now I'm playing with foiled and non-foiled elements, trying to layer those so that they're evenly dispersed and not like too foiled in some areas and too non-foiled in others, if that makes sense. Um, I used a couple of sheets from the Pretty Pink Co's Advent. Actually, maybe a few. I'm not sure if those um, music notes are from her Advent as well. But the foiled oval that's behind the non-foiled oval, that was from an Advent sheet. And then those tickets with the foiled overlays are quickly becoming some of my favorite stickers to work with. I've used them a few times now and I love them. But her Advent came with all three foil colors on these tickets and um, matching colorway quotes that you see here. So I wanted to pull those in because the colors just really match the kit and the vibe. Like this week in my planner was kind of a rough week, just personal stuff I was going through at the time. So I wanted to use these kind of affirmation quotes. They felt fitting to sprinkle in. Um, and yeah, so I layered those with the other elements from the kit, um, like that little watercolor swatch almost. Like it's kind of too thin to use as a box. So I like layering those behind quotes just because it feels like more dimensional, if that makes sense. So here I'm cutting up a large floral. One thing that was a struggle with this kit a little bit was the sizing and the shapes of the floral deco. I tend to prefer kits that have large bouquets and also like piecey bouquets. So like with little stems and branches and stuff hanging off, just because it feels like it adds more flow to a kit, or not a kit, but a spread. Um, but there were only a couple of large floral pieces in this collection because I don't believe she offers like just large deco, or at least she didn't for this collection. So I only had, I think, a couple of large bouquets to work with. So I had to try and be intentional about how I use them so that I could stretch them because I knew I also wanted to put them behind my full boxes, which you're about to see. Here you see me deciding what full boxes I'm going to use and also pulling the alcohol ink because I'm going to be layering that behind the boxes. I really loved how perfectly this dark, like forest green from the Pretty Pink Co. Matched with the dark greens in this kit. It was really nice to pull in some of that like richer green just because the kit feels so light overall. So yeah, I'm deciding which boxes I'm gonna layer together. I like to do like a floral full box behind a more detailed scenic box just to not overwhelm the senses when you're looking at it. Here I'm realizing that there's the same clip art magnolia tree right next to the full box version, so that was not going to work. So I went with this bike scene instead, which was really pretty. But like, look how perfectly the green swatch matches that full box. I was just really excited about that. Um, so this is kind of a lengthy process, building up the layers of the tilted box scene. Um, I've really been enjoying doing this kind of thing and making it feel like a big deal as opposed to just slapping the full box down in the column. It's just because it feels like more of a focal point. And it's nice too because I only ended up using 5 out of the 9 full boxes whenever I do this technique. So I'm able to use my leftovers in my functional planner really nicely because I tend to use like 4 boxes in my functional planner. So that was nice to kind of stretch the kit out because I definitely don't use all of the stickers from the journaling kit and all the like boxes and stuff. So it's nice to be able to use them to their full potential. Here I'm using the Panda Bear design. They're like gilded edge corner boxes, I think called something like that. I got these recently and I'm obsessed with them. They're just really pretty and add like a nice foiled vintage touch. I had to pull up the box, or the full box after I put the corner down because if you know, like large sections of foil can look really kind of like bumpy if they're layered on top of a sticker. Just because, like stickers are pretty thick. So if you add too many layers, it starts to get, like wavy and stuff. So I pulled up the box and put that behind. I was also using my new favorite sticker from the Pretty Pinko in that bottom left corner of the floral full box. Uh, they're vintage text corners, I believe they're called. There's some on my freebie with her, which you'll see. Like, I end up using my entire freebie in this spread, and I really love how it came out because my goal with creating freebies, I mean, I PR for one shop, but my goal with creating freebies for Paper Trail Plans and um, the Pretty Pink Co. is like making something that you can use in one spread, ideally. Just because, in my personal experience, freebies can be really hard to store and use up because there's so much on any given freebie that doesn't necessarily like flow well together. So like you'll end up not using the whole freebie and then you have to store it somewhere, but then I never go back and look at my freebies, so unless I am looking for something very specific, it's probably not going to be used. So I really like how my freebie with the Pretty Pink Co., which you'll see pretty soon, um, it's only a few different elements and they go really well together so that you could easily use it all in one spread and have everything you need. So yeah, that's my tangent on freebies. Here is the close up of this side of the planner or of the spread. I skipped over it, but I used another sheet from the Pretty Pinko's Advent, those large window stickers. They're so pretty. So I just wanted to pull in a large foiled element on that side. Okay, so I've moved on to the right side of the spread. Um, I like to lay down the entire base all in one, which I'm sure is how most people do it. Because if I were to stop in the first half and do all the other stuff, and then go back to the other side and do it, like it's like a different me, if that makes sense. It's hard to get back into the creative mindset that I started with. Um, Doing this kind of stuff and doing it all at once also helps me to remember like all the stickers I use, make sure there's cohesion on both sides and balance, and pulling in the same elements as I did on the other side. So, like for instance, I'm using more of the tickets from that Pretty Pink Co. sheet, um, and then the foiled kind of vintage frame element behind the scene. One thing I forgot to pull in on the other side that I'll pull back in later in the spread is this non-foiled music note pattern, I guess. That was part of, I mean, it was all throughout Rebecca's kit, but especially on her torn paper add-on, which is probably my favorite add-on that she offers. She had some of these foiled notes, so I wanted to make sure to pull that in because obviously music notes are a big theme in this kit. So I wanted to lean into that pretty hard. Um, that's one thing I probably overthink when I'm deciding what stickers I'm going to use for any given spread. Like, I love a good theme, period. So I can get pretty tunnel vision trying to make sure that I like use the stickers in my collection that really make sense to go with a kit. Um, I don't know if that's making any sense, but like I have a lot of random music note sheets that I don't use regularly. So because this kit had a lot of like musical elements, I really leaned hard into that because otherwise I'd probably never use the music note sheets that I have. So it's kind of just a way for me to make sure I'm using my collection to its fullest because you buy stickers with a lot of intention, like like I'll use this someday for this spread, and then you look at it months later and you're like, oh, I forgot I even had that. Or at least that's what happens to me. So it's exciting when like very specific stickers get their spotlight, like the niche stickers that you don't necessarily use every week. Because I do have a lot of basics that I use um, pretty much every week, like the stuff that's not seasonal and like layering based. But then the ones that are very specific, it's just like when you got an opportunity, you got to go for it. Yeah, so going back to what I'm doing in the spread, I am working on the other full box tilted scene. Um, I this is another thing I probably overthink, but I like to try to make sure that they're angled in the same way that the other ones are, just for balance sake. So you probably saw me like holding up these two boxes next to the ones on the other side, because I try to line up their orientation the same way. I'm probably overthinking that, and it's not necessary, but it's important to me, so I do it every time. Um, but here I'm laying down. I learned from last time, so I pulled up the full boxes before I put those down. The gilded boxes from Panda Bird. Yeah, this is pretty much the same process that I did on the other side. Um, which leads me, I have some, I guess, not housekeeping, but logistical questions for you guys. So feel free to answer in the comments if you have any feedback. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to edit these Plan With Me's. I mean, this is my second time, so I don't have a lot of experience still. But the way that I work on spreads is kind of odd, I guess. It's not as linear as maybe other planners are with their styles. So I'm curious if that like throws you off when you're watching. You'll see more of what I mean as this goes along because as I explained in my last video, I kind of piecemeal each layer um, of each side of the spread at a time. So like I do all of my boxes at once and then all of my layering elements and then all of my icons and then write everything in. Oh, that's the back of that cluster. I just thought it would be interesting to see all the layers of stickers on the back side. But yeah, like, is that more confusing to watch? Because I do everything in those steps on one side of the page, like Monday through Wednesday. I do all of those steps and then I do it all over again on the other side. But I could, if y'all preferred, edit it together so that you see like all of the base, like I'm doing now, on each side, and then all of the alcohol ink, all of the boxes, all of the icons at the same time instead of, like half and half. And again, I might just be overthinking this, but I'm curious if that would be something y'all like care to see instead of the way I do it now. So any feedback is appreciated, or if I'm just, thinking too much about it, you can also tell me that. Um, so here I'm doing more quotes, putting those down. I like to trim off the excess edges if they're not even, because especially when I split a quote in half to do like two lines like I'm doing here, it just bothers me when there's extra like colored edge on one side and then not the other. Um, yeah, in doing these voiceovers, I'm realizing how finicky I am with stickers, which seems kind of crazy, but I'm sure other people can relate. So I'm just gonna keep doing me. Here is kind of a closer look at the right side of the base. So I am putting finishing touches on. These little tape strips are the same, from Pretty Pinko, are the same as the ones on my freebie, or I just have one solid strip that you'll see when I show it shortly. But the days of the week are layered on top of those tape strips, like the same designs. So I made sure to like pick up some of those so that they always coordinate with the days of the week that I included on my freebie. And then this gilded washi that I'm layering behind the scallop washi from the kit is also from the Pretty Pink Co. Um, I think it's so pretty, and it just adds a nice like wash of foil. So I'll kind of explain what I'm doing here. So I'm using a washi sampler from my shop to layer behind um, this little strip because it just felt too boring and I knew I was going to be doing alcohol ink everywhere else in the spread, so I didn't want to just do my same old boring thing of alcohol ink everywhere. But then I realized when I put down the thickest strip on that sampler that it wasn't quite long enough to cover up the background, just in that, like the dips of that gilded washi. So I used the thinnest strip to make up the difference, and it bothers me a little bit that you can see the line, but I think once everything else is on top of it, it's less noticeable. This is my freebie from the Pretty Pink Co. I'm obsessed with it, and I always appreciate working with her on my freebies because as a shop owner, like I have a very logistical like mindset when I'm looking at sticker sheets and like Tetrising stickers onto the sheet. So I hope this doesn't bother her, and she always seems appreciative, but I pretty much like make a mock-up of my freebie when I send it to her. And it's just like something like this, but then she like makes it happen and it's perfect every time. So I really love that about her shop and her eye for design as well. But going back to the date covers, I'm not gonna lie, this is definitely not my favorite date cover section I've ever done, but I felt like because the rest of the spread so far is so intense and dramatic, I should try to keep it more simple at the top, which simple for me is not really that simple at all, but I try. Okay, so now I am adding these individual letters from my shop. Just to spell out March, well, MAR, because there's not enough room. But I like how it just kind of looks like they're letters that fell on the page. um, yeah, so finishing up the sidebar here, I just added this little piece to kind of connect the top to the bottom because there's that weird white gap there. And then this time I remembered to do my date numbers um, not until the very end of the spread. I don't know if anyone else like always forgets to do those, but I definitely do, which is really annoying. Um, but I was good this time. So that was the first half complete for the base at least, and then I'm just doing the other side now. I did speed up this footage a lot just because, it's pretty monotonous. It's kind of the same exact process as you already saw. I'm still trying to decide, like how fast is too fast versus how slow is too slow for watching these. Just because, like, I know I can watch long form Plan with Me's and really enjoy them, but I don't know, like, how much y'all care about seeing the same things over and over again. So, if you have any suggestions or feedback about that as well, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I did slow it back down here to show trying to pull in more like deco elements. Also, sorry, I'm not a frame here. I'm still working on that as well. More of the deco elements from the kit into the date covers just to make it a little more visually interesting instead of just florals. But there wasn't a lot of deco that was like smaller scale to pull from, so I just ended up with two pieces up there. But you know what? It's fine. Um, Now I'm moving on to the alcohol ink. I definitely sped this up a lot because once you've seen it once, you've seen it a million times. I don't know that I'll ever get tired of using alcohol ink swatches. They're just really nice to add color to the background. Like now that I've started doing this as my backdrop, I can't go back because it just feels so sterile without it, if that makes sense. I mean, I'm sure I could go back because I've done it before, like before alcohol ink was a big thing in the community. I obviously went years without using it, but it's just one of those things that I've come to like, like rely on now that it's a possibility. And I just watched Danny with the Plannies recent haul, and she was joking that like I use a lot of alcohol ink swatches, but I can afford to because I have an unlimited supply with my shop, just as a shop owner, which is very true. Like, if I didn't have the ability to make my own at any given moment, I definitely would not use them as liberally as I do because they are, not cheap when you're buying from a shop. So I definitely recognize that I'm lucky in that regard. Um, Yeah. So I just laid down all the boxes for the left side of the page. Um, I'm sorry I didn't really talk through it. Maybe next time I'll give a more detailed overview. Um, or on the other half, I can explain more of my thought process when it comes to like picking boxes and shapes and stuff. But yeah, I sped that up part up too because I find it really boring. But if you don't find it boring, I can try to slow it down next time. Let me know. So now that the boxes are done, I'm going back like I typically do with my foiled elements that I want to pull in and layering those behind the boxes. Um, when I was first playing around with layering in my planner, I was also at the point where I was doing day by day plans and not doing this technique where I lay down everything at once. So I would find it so much more tedious because working on one column at a time, like, took forever because I just had to like build up all the layers as I went. And then I was also at the time using or putting down my icons and writing in each box as I went, which just like took forever, which may be one of the reasons why I'm months behind in my planner. Um, but now that I do it this way, I find that it just goes so much quicker. So I can't recommend it enough. Here I'm cutting down some of the brushstroke boxes from our shop. Um, I often forget that we have these like in our shop, but when I remember, I pull them in like crazy because they're really fun and add like one, they white out whatever box you're putting them in. So if there's like florals or something that you want to cover up, like I did on Wednesday, to get more room to write in, it's really useful. But also just the brushstroke element of it is perfect for a vintage looking spread like this. So I really like how those turned out. And I cut down one of them to fit because, you know, every shop has a different mini box ratio, I guess is a good word. So I don't mind doing that. I know some people don't like that it like adds a little bumpiness to the edge of the box, but I usually end up covering the raw edge with a floral anyway, so it works out. I'm replacing that swatch that I have been finicking with like um, this whole time with one of the empty vintage tickets from the Pretty Pink Co. Um, there's only a couple on the sheet, but the ones that don't have writing in the middle are perfect to use as boxes, so I wanted to try and do that. Um, but now that all of the foiled elements are down, I'm going back in with my floral deco. Um, and like I said earlier, this is kind of challenging just because the sizing of the florals was pretty small and there were a lot of like solid bouquets that didn't have so many like stem edges. So like if you look at the edge of the one I'm putting down now, it's pretty like solid all the way around. There's not like one or two stems coming off like there are in this one. Um, I hope that makes sense. But I just like the feeling of, and I guess the flow of like individual stems coming out into the spread. It feels more organic than just like a round or square bouquet that doesn't have much flow to it. Um, which I think flow was maybe coined by Lauren way back when, in describing like icons and the flow and shape of like how they fit on top of boxes. But I think that definitely applies to florals as well because I like to use florals as like space fillers basically, which is why a lot of times I line them on the sides of my columns, because it makes it feel more like a whole pattern in a column as opposed to just like floating boxes not anchored in anything. Um, I feel like I'm getting pretty esoteric about stickers right now, but hopefully y'all know what I mean. So now I'm coming back in with these amazing vintage text edges and corners from the Pretty Pink Co. And I'm pulling in ones from my freebie, but also from the $2 Tuesday sheet that I have. I did just receive my order with like the full sheet version of those, which I'm really excited about because I got two of each foil color because I'm crazy. So I'll be pulling those into lots of spreads to come. But it's definitely my favorite design from her shop right now, so I will be leaning hard into those. So now I'm going back throughout the spread before I start laying down the icons to just add like more foiled elements that I had in the horizontal sidebar, to try and make it feel more cohesive. Um, Sorry for the shakiness of the camera. So now it's icon time. I did a lot of splice editing for this segment because the process of pulling icons is probably the most tedious in my planning process. Um, I've thought about doing what Amy from the script planner does in her spreads, and like because she makes all of her scripts for her spreads, she knows exactly like what icon she's gonna need. Um, like so she pairs her each script that she's using with the icon before she pulls it into the spread. So I want to eventually start doing something like that, but I'm not there yet. So for now, you're just going to get choppy editing as I pull each and every icon from my sticker books. So I tried to layer floral behind this music note icon, but then I realized there was another floral pretty close on the side of the column. So I pulled in these little circle dot thingies from the kit. I used to use those a lot in spreads, but one, most kits don't include them anymore, and two, like they're less, like modern, I guess. Like, oh, this is a better look at the pen that I use. I realized after editing last week's plan with me that I kind of zoomed through that without explaining it. So that's the pen that I use. It's kind of a random pen that I got from a friend that she got on Amazon, of all places, but I really love the way they write, and they have cats on the head or on the top of the pen, so bonus. But yeah, so I'll end my previous tangent about the dots and talk about the spread more. But I sped through my writing just because like I find that boring to watch. Um, and I know I haven't actually really talked about what I've done, like what I actually did this week in my planner. If y'all are interested in that, I can go through like what I'm doing and what I did on this week. It's just so far back in my life that it's less relevant to me now. So I mean, like I can go through it, but one, I have like a terrible memory. So this is in March, and if I didn't write it down, there's no way I remembered anything. So that's the beauty of my functional planner, because if I don't write it down within a day um, of actually doing it, then I will just forget I ever did it. I am like a goldfish. So yeah, I am realizing now I completely talked through my box section on this side of the spread as well. So sorry about that. Next time I do a plan with me, I'll just keep the footage for that section slower so that I can spend more time talking through my process. But it's pretty standard, so you're not missing much. Um, I lost my train of thought. I don't even remember what I was talking about, but we'll just keep it moving. So I'm doing the same thing that I did on the other side of the spread, so nothing too exciting. Um, I guess I can try and recall what I did during this week while this part is happening, just because I don't really have much to say about my process that I didn't already say in the last half. Um, you may have noticed that I saw both Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2, um, like back to back earlier in the week. I had seen Dune Part 1 when it first came out, but since um, the second part of the movie came out this week in March, or maybe it was like a couple weeks before. I feel like I was pretty behind in watching the second part. Uh, my wife and I wanted to like refresh our memories, so we watched the first one on Max, and then the next day went to the movies to see it, which I'm so glad we did because it's one of those movies that is infinitely better in a large screen format. Um, and my wife and I have Movie Pass subscriptions. I don't know if anyone remembers that from back in the day, but there's a cool documentary about it on, I want to say Max, um, that I highly recommend just to get, uh, the scoop on what went down with all that. There's a lot of drama involved in that company, but the original owners got bought out, but then they were able to buy it back after it kind of tanked, and they just kind of revitalized the business. So Movie Pass is a thing again, which means like you get credits to go see movies every month. It's not the same as it used to be because it used to be really easy to take advantage of, like you see infinite amount of movies every month. But it's still nice because we pay $10 a month and get basically the equivalent of two free movies each. So it works out nicely. But yeah, it's a long tangent just to say I saw Dune Part 2, but it was really good. I saw the first one originally on streaming, so I'm glad I got to see the second part in the theater because it really makes a difference, like in such an epic film. I'm looking back at the actual planner or spread for this week because I realized I should probably have it in front of me, um, so I can talk about what I did while actually seeing the full spread instead of just watching it as I plan it. And another thing that I had written down on Wednesday of this week was that I started formatting our first journaling collection for paper trail plans this week. So I wanted to talk about that real quick. Um, just because, like our community is always shifting and growing and like trends are changing. But I'm curious to hear y'all's thoughts on like our format, if you're familiar with it. If not, you can go to papertrailplans.com and check it out. But currently we have a 16-page format for our journaling collection. And while I like having all the options, I wonder if that's like too many options for some folks. Like, because I know sometimes as a planner, I can get decision fatigue when shops offer like too many colorways or varieties of a certain sticker. Because obviously it gets expensive quickly, and then you have to decide which ones are worth prioritizing. And, like it's just, you know, it can deter you from even buying in the first place just because it's too many options, which my mom and I joke that we offer all of the options in our shop. Literally any option you could think of, we have it because I think it stems from us being indecisive. So we just like to cover all of our bases with our stickers, but it can sometimes lead to, like just having too much in the shop. So it's definitely something I'd like to hear from y'all about. Um, do you like having the variety to choose from, or would you prefer a more bare bones, like here's what you get, like pre-layered stickers, or would you rather do it yourself? Because I can see the value of both. Um, like especially with layering stickers, like part of the reason we do this hobby is that we can be creative ourselves, but there is something nice about seeing pre-layered stickers. And let me like explain a little bit better. Like stickers that are already pre-made, like scenes, like kind of what you would see in a full box, but like on its own. So like maybe layered, like vintage handwriting layered behind a scene or something with like a wash of color from an alcohol ink swatch, like just already pre-made and ready to go, so that when you're going to use it in your planner, you just pull up the one sticker and you're done. Um, I definitely see why people would like that. Uh, right now, currently with our format, we just do individual stickers, but I'm curious if y'all would want to see like curated, pre-made scenes and moments, if you will. So yeah, this is my, I'm just using my plan with me as an opportunity to do market research, but I am genuinely curious because there's, I mean, so many opinions out there and preferences. Um, and we obviously like to listen to our customers and see what folks are actually looking for and then make it happen for them. Um, we like to say that we love making sticker dreams come true. So, yeah, just putting that out there. So, if you have any suggestions, drop them in the comments, please. I also feel like this is a good time slash avenue to ask for feedback, because it's kind of an ongoing thing happening right now on Instagram. Like Danny from Danny with the Planny. I feel like I've mentioned her 1,000 times in this, but she recently did a bunch of polls on her stories on Instagram asking for feedback from the community about kit formats. And I find that super fascinating just because, like, obviously, like every shop has their own personal style and ways of, like picking what stickers should be in a kit, like curating collections for y'all. But it's really great to hear from the community like what you're actually looking for, because obviously the intention is to make stickers that will be used and will be useful. So I really appreciate Danny taking the time to like get that feedback from the community and then share it with us shop owners, because like it's invaluable. And like what works for one planner obviously doesn't work for another, because everyone has such a unique planning style. But it's really nice to like kind of gauge what the preferences are on any given topic, just so we can cater to as many planning styles as we can. Um, because we like all those options. Like that's part of why we switched to an a la carte style in our shop, because we understand like not everyone uses every single page in a kit, and especially when you're on a budget, you want to like prioritize the stickers that you actually know you'll use, as opposed to having to buy a whole 4-page kit for a certain price and then half of it going to waste because it doesn't fit with your planning style. So that's something that we're glad we offer in the shop, just because like it really opens up what you can do with any given sticker. Um, and then that paired with like add-ons, like y'all know we have a billion add-ons in our shop, but it's just because we like to, like give everyone what they could possibly need for their planning style. I'm gonna interject to my soapbox chat here, because in a second you'll see me come to the realization in real time that I skipped over Friday. I don't know. I've done this so many times. I don't know if anyone else can relate, but I get ahead of myself and then skip a day. So I sped this part up because no one wants to see me lay down icons twice in a row. But I had to move everything from from Friday over to Thursday, which was fun. Thankfully, it was pretty quick. I had someone reach out to me, and like they were surprised that I don't use undo, um, just because like I have a paint, I think it's called a paint knife, or paint palette, something like that. Um, I kind of like to call it like my planner shovel. It's easy to dig up under a sticker and like pry it up really easily, without tearing anything. And, like Sadie stickers paper, which is what my inserts are on, is pretty forgiving. So I can pull up stickers pretty easily without having to use undo. I do own a bottle of undo. I just don't like having to pull for it. So yeah, I try to make it work. But yeah, I sped through my writing for this half of the spread. But next time I'll try to talk through a little slower on that part. But now you see me going back through. I like to add the bows as like the final touch. I don't do it in every spread. It's more just when I remember to. And also you can go through so many in a spread that it's not very economic. But I do love using those. But this is my process every week when I plan. I like to like add the final little like dot clusters and like little tiny deco at this stage, because I don't know until I'm fully done with the spread where I'll be able to fit it. So what you just saw was my empty freebie sheet. It's so satisfying to finish a whole sheet of stickers, so I wanted to show that off. But I was just trying to show also like how useful the freebie was in this spread, because I used every single sticker, which is very satisfying. So I'm pulling in these dot clusters or sorry, ink splatters from the Pretty Pink Co. into my date cover section, just to add more dimension, because I still was not really vibing with how it came out. I don't know that it really helped much, but it helped fill some empty space at the very least. But so that's something. But not every spread's gonna be your favorite. I do really love how the bottom came out, and like I've said in the past, like I don't care as much as about the actual daily like boxes and what I write. I'm less interested in that part of planning so much as like the actual like layering and creative side of things. So yeah, I really love how that came out. But now I'm putting the week back in my rings planner. The planner, it's or the cover is from Aura Estelle. I always get her A5 wide clad planners, and then the inserts are Sadie stickers, like I said. But here is an overview of the finished spread. Um, yeah, I'm really happy with how it came out. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this plan with me and that I didn't go on too many tangents. But let me know what other videos you'd like to see from me in the future. I really look forward to growing my channel. All right, have a great day. Bye.